I'm now going to be talking about M1 for assessing risk in sport, which is comparing and contrasting legislation, legal factors and the regulatory bodies on health and safety in sport. The first scenario I'll be looking at is the effect legislation can have if it is broken. So for legislation, I will be looking at COSH, which is the control of substances hazardous to health. Now what you should do to prevent breaking COSH is any substances, cleaning products, anything like that that's hazardous or that can result in an injury should be locked away in a cupboard or a room with signs up on the doors and around it warning that those substances are inside. However, I'm just going to tell you an example of how COSH can be broken and the effects that can have. So if someone was cleaning the toilets at Evesham Football Club and they lift the lid off the bleach bottle and put it on the side near the sink, and a child could just walk in to go to the toilet, if no one is keeping an eye on that bleach, or if there's nothing near the bleach that says irritant, bleach, anything like that, and the child picks up the bleach bottle, the child could then spill it down himself and burn his arm or any part of his body. From that, the regulatory bodies shouldn't get directly involved, as it doesn't affect the team, the coaches or any other players if the child happens to be a player. However, there should have been signs warning that the cleaner was in the toilets and that there were substances in use. So that is where they have broken COSH, which is the legislation. As I said, the regulatory bodies shouldn't have to get involved. Legal factors also weren't broken, as the child should have been supervised by a parent or carer if this incident happened after or outside of the training hours. Also, the child shouldn't have to be supervised by the coach going to the toilet, so they wouldn't have broken their legal factors. However, one legal factor they may have touched on is negligence, as they failed to make sure that child knew not to touch the bleach, or that there was a cleaner in the toilets. So there should have been warning signs outside the toilets, in the toilets, warning about the bleach. There could have been wet floor signs, to say that someone was in there. But the most important thing they should have done is left the lid on the bleach. By leaving the lid off the bleach, they've sort of put themselves in a position where they can't really blame the child, as the lid should have been on, and then if the child would have picked it up, nothing would have happened. However, the fact the lid was off, the bleach should then have been left up high or towards the back of the sinks where the child wouldn't have been able to reach it, as if it was not in reach, they would have avoided the scenario. The reason they've broken the legislation is someone got hurt, and it could have easily been avoided if they'd have followed some of the points I've already spoken about. The fact they failed to comply means they would have to notify HSE, which is the Health and Safety Executives, because someone has got hurt. They would have to fill in an accident report, make sure the child is alright, possibly take them to A&E, get the burns looked at, and it would be the club's fault, as they failed to look after the child, and they could possibly get fined for it, for compensation of the child really, and to his parents if the injury turned out to be quite severe.